Hey, it's Dashia D.
And this JStan.
Welcome back to In Retrospect Podcast, where we look beyond the surface to find understanding.
Bring you laughs, knowledge, and culture.
So sit back, relax, and join the convo. So today
Yeah.
we are going to be diving into some hot topics, if you will, things that have been circulating the internet from music to mental health.
Conversations.
Yeah, just a lot of different things going on. So first up, rapper Jeezy and actress Nia Long sat down to have a one-on-one conversation. It felt more like an interview than conversation, but
It
hey.
was a heart to heart. For heart
Um
to heart.
Most of it, they talked about their childhood traumas with his mom, her dad, her his divorce, her breakup, and just the commonalities that they may share. What was your initial reaction to the conversation?
My initial reactions was it's good that they're getting it all off their chest. Was I surprised by Jeezy and Nia Long having a conversation? Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard. It wasn't something I was expecting. It just happened, which was interesting when they're both at that part in their lives that has basically been put out there for everyone to see with Nia Long situation where her husband or ex-husband or I believe they're still
Her
together, so I'm not
ex-fiance.
comment on that. And I also would like to talk about how the Jeezy situation where he is divorced or divorcing his wife, but they still may be able to work through that. So that is also a possibility. But that's the most viral part of the whole thing that was being discussed was that the two of them uh, were saying or discussing cheating that came up, the whole cheating aspect that went viral when Jeezy was quoted saying, and I quote, "Real niggas don't cheat," but it came off as more of a whole flirtatious vibe between the two when they were having the conversation. My main takeaway was it was, I guess, good seeing folks be vulnerable in front of the camera, but at the same time, it was interesting, I will say. Uh, but it was refreshing in a sense. It didn't seem too superficial, but it definitely gave off like they were being very vulnerable about everything. What were your thoughts on it?
Um, I didn't take it as being flirtatious. I just feel like we sometimes are not used to seeing platonic friendships between men and women where there are intimate conversations being had and we're not trying to sleep with each other. And so that's why I think a lot of people are perceiving it as, oh, they should get together. And I don't think they should get together because clearly they both shared how they have some deeply rooted um, childhood wounds. I mean, Jeezy talks about witnessing a shooting, a domestic violence situation, and how his mother was cold towards him and wasn't very loving, and him, trigger warning, being molested as a child. That's a lot to unpack. And if you don't really know how to connect with your mother, then that tells me you don't really know how to connect with women. So for him to be, I don't know how old he is. I'm assuming late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah,
Um,
most of these rappers that we listened to when we were, I guess, in school, uh, they're pushing it now.
yeah, like he's definitely grown. And so I think that that is a big deal for him to be sitting down with a black woman and trying to talk through these things. I really hope that he is still in therapy and still working through those things because he admitted he didn't have a conversation with his mom when she was on the earth side. So that's a lot to
Yeah,
carry. And then for her, same thing. She dealt with her relationship with her dad that wasn't really there, and now he's gone. And so now she's getting the chance to sit across from a black man and process that. So I think it was nice for them to have the conversation. My only concern is I really hope that they are able to leave this conversation and be in a safe space to continue it so that they can have some kind of healing before they try to get into another relationship if they even want to, and not with each other necessarily. I don't know why everybody
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, we should get together."
I mean, hey, it is Nia Long, but it is Nia Long. Nia
He
Long
is
is
married.
fine.
Oh, let
Shout
me
out to
not say
Nia,
that.
but they are married. I know. That's why I said. I mean, technically, they're both still married until that
She was
paperwork
never
goes through.
married. She was never
She was
married.
never married. To him?
No, she was
Oh
engaged to
well.
him,
See,
and they
and
had
in
a
my
child
mind,
together.
well, that's well. Anyway, well, sending hopefully everything works out on that end. Hopefully she gets that resolved. But I will say, like I stated earlier, it was refreshing seeing folks be vulnerable and really like dive deep into their trauma and just talk about it, because like they're human just like us. I think a lot of the times folks see these celebrities and just like forget that human aspect of what they deal with on the regular. So it was definitely refreshing to see. And hopefully folks actually got a little bit more about it from them, because you see them in these movies, you hear their music, and you just don't realize like they real deal have real life situations that they're dealing with or have been through just like us. So that was my last final input on that.
I don't know. And just lastly, one of the last things that he said towards the end of the conversation, he was like, basically, when black men are at their lowest, they need their sisters in order to heal, and their sisters need their brothers, and you know. So it is interesting that he feels that way, but married somebody who is so different from him, culturally speaking. And love is love, but let's be honest, being in an interracial relationship is difficult. And statistics show that when black men marry non-black women, the divorce rates are even higher. So it is something to consider that like we do deal with similar traumas as black people, and just food for thought. That's it. Food for thought. To learn how to have these intimate conversations and relationships with each other beyond romance, of course, but just being more vulnerable. Um, moving on. H Town's hottie, Meg the Stallion, just released a video that is actually the most viewed YouTube video from a solo female rap artist currently. It got 2 million views in 24 hours. The song is called Cobra, and in it, she is discussing mental health, um, her past romantic relationship, and then just the trauma that she dealt with from the public during the trial with Tory Lanez. Um, how do you feel about this change in pace? Because right now we're used to the Sexy Reds and the Ice Spices and the Krishan Rocks to now Cobra.
Yeah, I don't listen. I'm mad you brought up sexy, man. Hey man, leave sexy alone, man. She got a child on the way, but she got a lot going on. But anyway, it definitely is a change of pace. Definitely for Meg Thee Stallion too. I will say that she did hit on a lot of things that she's been through, as well as a lot of things that she's currently dealing with. I will say that in times like this, we shouldn't be trying to tear down uh, black women in general or this black woman specifically. We should be trying to uplift her, because she literally is talking about every one of her, traumas, everything she's dealing with within the song or has dealt with. And you can tell like this is still ongoing stuff that she deals with day to day. Like this is not no like, oh, I'm gonna take me a quick nap, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna feel better type deal. Like you can really tell like there's pain behind the words and everything that she talks about. And I believe it's been several other like interviews and at times she's talked about certain specific things from the song openly. I think it's just a time that we should try to uplift Meg with everything that she has going on, just because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of
What's
tearing down of folks going on, and we should be trying
what's
to uplift people.
what's crazy to me is there are a lot of women or people who can relate to the things that she said, but the one thing that I want to focus in on is she has a line in there where she's like, she walks in and her then boyfriend is cheating on her in the same bed that they share, right? That's not the exact line, but that's what she's saying. Now I would imagine that her ex-boyfriend was aware of the fact that both of her parents are deceased. I know her grandmother had died not too long ago as well. She's dealing with depression. She's dealing with suicidal ideations. She's dealing with this trial with Tory Lanez. She's dealing with these popular rappers weighing in and discussing her, questioning her character, questioning all of these different things about her, whether she's telling the truth or not. Knows all of this and still chooses to play a role in hurting her. That's the part of the song that I'm kind of like, there's a lot of people who can relate to that. And it is very sad that that happened to her, because people love to say, well, just love on yourself and you'll be okay and you'll grow and get better. But at the end of the day, that's a lot for somebody to take on. So I don't know. I just wish that we would give more grace to people who have put up with a lot of BS and not expect them to have to be strong all the time or have to be okay. You made a lot of faces.
I was just trying to figure out where you was going with that for a minute, and then you brought it back full circle. But also, I mean, I'm assuming most of the times that you see the signs, whether somebody is, starting to act weird, but it seems as if, just from the outside looking in, that it really caught her off guard if she came home and he was just doing whatever. But needless to say, that still is insane and crazy in the same bed that y'all sleep in. That's wild. That's disrespectful. Oh, get out. My goodness. That's next
Listen,
level. That's wild.
I've
But yeah.
experienced something similar to that. It wasn't full blown sex, but I definitely have experienced something similar to that. I was in college and I was in a relationship with somebody. And at the time, I was in a group where we had meetings like on the same day of the week every week, but the meetings would last for like 2.5 hours. On this particular day, for whatever reason, I asked them to leave early because I had a math exam the following day. Now, somebody upstairs had to been looking down on me because usually I would not do that. But I was like, man, I hate math. I really need to get as much hours in of the study time. So please let me leave early. They're like, sure, go ahead, do what you need to do. Great. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop and get some Chick-fil-A. And then I'm going to stop by my person's dorm. Because why? I'm in a relationship. That's what we do. So get my food, coming upstairs. I open the door and the chick is sitting on their bed. Now, and later on found out more information and that relationship ended. And the thing is, though, I know so many girls specifically who have very similar, if not worse, stories that they have walked in on somebody doing whatever they were doing. So it's just sad. And I just want better. I really want better for us. I don't know.
You
if
just
you
talk about the human race in general.
No, I'm talking about women. No. I'm talking specifically about women. I want better for us.
Oh, what about men? You don't want better for men?
I don't know too many men that walk in on that.
Oh, it happens.
Actually,
Happened to me. I've heard about it, but at the same time, I will say that, like I said, there's always signs, and there's always a reason why certain things are happening. But in specific cases, 9 times out of 10, I guess depending on the nature of a relationship, sometimes people go tick for tack, and that's a situation. But for the most part, I'm assuming so from the outside looking in. Most of these situations, the situation she's talking about specifically in her song was one of, she came back from wherever she was, walked up in the house, and was like, "What in the world is going on?" Yeah, but if you really want to know what happened in the bed, listen to Meg's lyrics. Good night. It was a
I
lot.
mean, I know that you're trying to include men in this as far as like, they get hurt. And I'm sure, of course, men get hurt. But I don't think that they're Men don't. Let me see how I want to word this. Y'all get the privilege of saying bitches ain't shit and all those types of things, and y'all aren't labeled this angry man, right? But when women deal with things like this on top of societal issues, on top of work issues, right? Then we are the bitter black women. That's what I'm saying the difference is.
Oh,
Like
so
you
you're
could
saying
go,
there's a double standard. There's a double standard.
definitely, definitely.
Okay.
You can go through all of these things and you're saying you're going through all of these things, and God forbid you share that and you're passionate about it because you've been hurt. You just bitter. You need to do better. That's who you dating. We can't all be dating the same 10 niggas. We can't. We just can't. We can't be. It's not possible. So that's what I'm saying. As
Oh,
far
it's
as
possible, but I understand what
no,
you're
it's
saying.
not. No, it's not. No, it's not. We can't be. Not all across the country. We can't. So that's what I'm saying. Like I just want us to give more grace. Much like the conversation we just talked about with Jeezy and Nia. I want more of that. But like with millennials, I don't want it to take us to get over the hill at 50 years old to then recognize, like, damn, I really need to see you as a black man, as my brother, right? Or y'all really need to see us as your sister. I want us to get in the habit of doing that now. That would be lovely. Because I think it would decrease a lot of the tension that has been created on social media between the two. That's all I'm saying. Moving on. Oh, you want to introduce this one?
Might need a little assistance, but we were going to talk about the double standard. We're going to talk about insecure actress. I don't want to mispronounce her name.
John Orgy.
Yes, we're going to be talking about her coming out recently on a podcast, letting everybody know that she is still a virgin at the age of 39, but saying it is from the reason for it all is because of her beliefs that she does not want to have any type of sexual intercourse or have sex in general until she is married. And she says she has a lot of pinned up energy, and it will be left for her husband to deal with. Daisha, thoughts?
I don't blame her. I don't blame her. The dating scene, I know we like to say the dating pool is full of pee, but at this point, the dating scene is like a road where it's nothing but addicts, syringes, debris, just all over the place. It's not much.
Syringes.
Yeah, yeah.
What are
It's not
syringes for?
much.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
If it's addicts out there, they shoot
Oh,
up
I'm
with
sorry. Keep going.
syringes.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's not a whole lot out there. And I can't even imagine for her because I thought it would get better as you get older, but then when I talk to older people, they're like, nah, it's the same. They're just older. So I don't blame her for wanting to not bring in the physical aspect and be blinded by that because that's not everything. You need to be able to connect on an emotional level if that is somebody that you want to actually marry and be with.
Hey, at the end of the day, it's her body. That's her decision to do whatever she wants to do. I'm not really too. I wouldn't say caught off guard by certain, things like this. I guess it's kind of taboo for somebody to be in Hollywood. I'm assuming so. It's somebody just to come out like that. I guess the age thing is what's crazy to some folks. But I mean, she is strong in her belief, and she made that evident when she was discussing this whole situation. So I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, more power to her. She's doing it, and she's saying she's looking for a husband. So I mean, that's very righteous of her to say, and that's very, that's she's standing. How's what's the thing they say now? Standing on business. That's what she's doing. She's standing on all kind of business
I guess people are surprised because she has done so many sex scenes.
scenes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you? But I mean, a lot of sets have what they call intimacy coaches now, so that it's choreographed what you're gonna
Yeah.
do. It's not like you're having actual sex. Um, and I mean, guys, I don't think it's that hard to pretend that you're having sex on camera. I mean, you make whatever sound you choose to make. Y'all are making out and doing what you do. I don't feel like it would be that hard to act as if you're doing that, even though you haven't, especially as an adult. But hey, that's just me.
People fake it all the time.
You want to introduce the view clip?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this view clip right now. You might hear a little passion in my voice because we're just gonna talk about this ongoing topic it's just crazy to me. From generation to generation, we're gonna talk about Whoopi Goldberg and her comments on the generation and how she feels and her opinions about how we work nowadays, specifically millennials. But it should be a good conversation. Here we go.
Apparently, millennials and Gen Z have a much different view of the American dream than past generations. Data shows that soaring inflation, student debt, and limited room for advancement in the workplace has made them feel that milestones like affording a home, starting a family, excelling within the corporate structure are out of reach. Does every generation feel this way at some point? I say yes. What do you think?
Well, since we're sticking with our Clinton theme today, it's the economy, stupid. Like, my generation is the generation of the housing crisis, the financial crisis, 9/11. We've been in war basically my entire generation. You've got 45% of people ages 18 to 29 living with their parents. Our American dream's different. Doesn't mean other struggles didn't matter, but on the having kids specifically, I get it. Most of my friends, if they're not, married by a certain age, they're not owning homes at the same rate, and you don't want to have kids if you don't feel like you can provide that. My one piece of advice, though, to millennials who are holding off having kids because of the finances, if you're in a position, which is also expensive, consider freezing your eggs because you could change that position later and want to. But no, it's hard. It is a very real struggle out there.
I think it's refreshing to see people enter parenthood so soberly, because I think for generations since the beginning of time, people get married, they just have babies because they're supposed to, and this is what we do. And then you see people like gay couples who fight so hard just to love a baby. And every day people are having kids that some are beaten and like not taken care of. And so to have a generation that says, I don't know if I can give them the life they deserve, I don't know if I'm capable of being a whole person and doing this, I say bravo, because it is not a slight undertaking.
That was my takeaway. I mean, my generation, you got married, you tried to get a house, and you had kids. And this seems to be very intentional. They're thinking about it. And I agree with you,
Those
though.
millennials are brilliant.
Your eggs start turning to dust. And so you have to be careful. And so if you're a young person and you have any kind of chance of freezing your eggs, which wasn't available to me when I was, your age, I think that you got to at least preserve the opportunity, because you may change your mind.
I'm sorry.
She said one kid is enough.
Yeah,
one
but
kid is
listen,
enough.
every generation comes and wants to do better than their parents did. Every generation. But I'm sorry, if you only want to work 4 hours, it's going to be harder for you to get a house.
Oh, and don't mention 4 days.
No, but
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Whoopi seems like she has a lot of displaced energy for, I guess, somebody within her family, because that makes no sense. She's specifically targeting certain people that are in, I guess, whatever fits that mold. But there is no way in the world that she's trying to say millennials as a whole works only 4 hours and expect to get a house. I just find it a little crazy with the comment in general, because millennials have been through. Let's list off some of the crazy events that have taken place, or traumatic events that have taken place since millennials have been alive. Let's start off with 9/11. We've been through 2 recessions. Pandemic, of course, you can't forget that. Come on now. You can't forget 9/11 either, but pandemic, multiple outbreaks, I believe swine as well, swine flu can go, pandemic, there was all of that as well. And there's so much more that I'm leaving out. Those are just the tipping point highlights of everything that's taken place within the last 20 to 25 years.
We've had a lot of
So,
natural disasters as well because of
it-
and all
yeah.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so as a result of everything I just listed off, life as they know it in her generation has changed dramatically. Nothing doesn't, well, gas doesn't cost a nickel or whatever it was they were paying back then. It's not the same. Prices are not the same. Like, it's inflation for a reason. The prices she probably was dealing with when she was coming up in her adulthood is probably, let's see here, the same prices that they had then. She might as well multiply that by a lot compared to what we got to deal with now for the same pay that they were probably getting near that time. Minimum wage is still the same that it was almost 20 years ago now, 7.25 in certain states. It's been bumped up in different states, but needless to say, when minimum wage gets bumped up, so does everything else. They're gonna get their money back. So don't even get me started how you have to have multiple certifications or qualifications to even get specific jobs nowadays. You can have the education and still not get the job. They'll tell you need experience. But why, if I was just coming out of school, how am I gonna get this experience if you don't give me a shot? Then it turns into who you know. But then on top of that, let's not forget the economy isn't at its best or even stable for a lot of folks to even get the jobs that are needed to provide. It's kind of crazy how everyone else on the set was talking facts, but Whoopi was over there speaking from emotion. Thoughts, Daisha?
So just going back to like the focal point, which was we aren't having as many kids. I don't think people realize that, and I hope this does not offend people who have children. I am also somebody's child, so remember that when you're in them comments. Just saying. Children are a liability, more so than an asset, okay? And when you have them, right, everything that goes on with them from the moment they are conceived until you are off of this earth is going to impact the things that you do. And it may hinder the things that you do and the ways that you have to provide for them. Not everybody is given or put into spaces where they're able to get a lot of help with that child or children, whether that's their spouse, their community, whoever. So like the co-hosts were saying, like we're trying to actually be considerate for these children because I know a lot of people love to, I know a lot of people love to say like, well, I want a legacy. Well, let's be for real. You could do amazing things for the country, for yourself, for your family, but your children may not walk in your footsteps. So how is that a legacy? You are your legacy. What you choose to put out into the world is your legacy. I mean, you could be a freedom fighter and have a child that becomes an addict. That's a part. That's your legacy. I don't know. I think people have to rethink the way that they think about having kids. I just do. I think sometimes some people have kids for very selfish reasons, and it's very unfortunate because, like I said, yes, they are a blessing, but again, they're also a liability. And if you're going to bring them into this world, you want to be able to take care of them, and not just financially, mentally, and emotionally as well. So.
That was good. That brought it full circle. I agree. It's best to be strategic with kids. As far as the liability situation goes, I understand what you're saying, Daisha. But of course, let's all remember they are God's gift from above. But definitely, there is a lot into that goes into having a kid in general. I am somebody's child as well. I knew I was. Definitely a liability because I was all over the place as a child. But needless to say, I'm still here. But yeah, so it was just a lot of things that just made it seem as if she was very disconnected from the generation coming up. But I will say there are a lot of folks out there that are putting in a lot of work to better themselves as well as their situations. And I just feel as if though she seems very disconnected. She's been, had her successes, good for her. But at the same time, she needs to also be very mindful of how she talks to people. Reason being is because you never know what people can turn into. So somebody may have just been introduced to Whoopi off of that one conversation, and then the next thing you know, they may be holding more power and more connections than she has. So me personally, I always say be mindful of, what you say as far as to specific people. Like in my mind, though, I will say that I feel as if though she was targeting as well as talking to someone specifically versus a whole generation. There ain't no way. I still believe that. That's just me. But she'll probably clarify it here in the next few days or whatever, or probably not, just because that's just how she may possibly be.
Chime in below. Let us know what you think. Thank you for joining us today. I have been Dashia D.
And I've been JStan.
Join us every other Friday at noon
And always remember to like, comment, and subscribe.